Welcome to the sofa. I'm Sherry.
I'm Bonnie, and this is the Sisters Hallmark Sip and Chat podcast.
We're a couple of crown heads who love all things Hallmark.
This past weekend marks week 3 of Hallmark's Countdown to Christmas on the W Channel, and it was an outstanding weekend of movies and Christmas decorating. Did you get some holiday decorating done this weekend, Sherry?
Yes, it has been an exciting week at the Marshall home with the outdoor Christmas lights display is completed. How are you coming along with your Christmas decorating?
Good. Your new star that you put over your garage is gorgeous. It's beautiful. You're welcome. So far, I've got 2 Christmas trees up, one in my living room and one in my office, which is really nice. It's pink and sparkly. And I'm also started my village, which we officially call Bonnieville. And it started to come together. We're updating some parts of it, so hopefully we'll have it finished by this weekend. And of course, we have to watch movies as well. You know, Christmas decorating is so much fun, and I could talk about it all day. But there's a lot to unpack this week, so let's get started. In this episode, we will be sipping on cranberry martinis and chatting about the 4 movies we watched this weekend entitled Gingerbread Miracle, The Christmas Promise, Next Stop Christmas, and A Christmas Treasure. We chose to pair this drink because it appeared in both The Christmas Promise and Next Stop Christmas.
Movie 1, Gingerbread Miracle, starring Merritt Patterson as Maya and John Ecker as Alex. In this movie, gingerbread cookies are magical, and the love of family trumps all. Both Maya and Alex return to their hometown, looking to find meaning in their careers. When they're asked to help Alex's uncle sell his family's Mexican bakery, they discover that the answers they were searching for have been in their hearts the whole time.
All right, such a sweet storyline. Really enjoyed it. Let's find out how this movie rates on our sofa rating system. But first, a quick explanation. Our custom sofa rating system includes a list of 20 Hallmark tropes that will determine how Hallmark is this movie. You can download the list from our website, sistersipandchat.ca.
Okay, well, this movie earned a whopping 17 out of 20 sofas, including Star Returns Home, set up by family members. There's a farm in the story. Star gives up current career, multiple love stories, takes place in a small town, object focused, something magical happens, gets back with childhood sweetheart, enemies to lovers, helps a family member or friend in need, includes town celebrations, and the bonus for a charity or charitable event.
Whew, that's a lot. Let's break down each rating category. This movie is set in the small town of Xavier in Colorado. Maya has been living with her parents for 2 years after moving home from LA, and Alex comes home for the last Christmas at his uncle's bakery. They meet up for the first time in the movie since childhood at a local Christmas tree farm where Maya's parents' dog Dasher gets loose and runs off. Wishes come true when a magical gingerbread cookie is made especially for you by a member of Alex's family and when shaped into a form that means something to them. It was started by Alex's ancestors to bring love and kindness into the world. The examples of the cookie magic are a camera cookie was made for Maya's sister, who ended up selling a print and getting a job at a gallery. There was also a cookie given to Maya's mom, and she ended up getting 4 new party planning jobs. Maya got a red briefcase and then finds out later Alex has a red briefcase. There was also a cookie for Jacques made into the shape of the cafe, and then he ends up keeping the original cafe that he had. And there was a hockey cookie made for a young man at the bakery who ends up getting a scholarship. In this movie, there are multiple love stories. Alex and Maya, and Ian, who is Alex's friend, who's a vet, and Brooke, Maya's friend, who's a reporter. Ian asks Alex to the ice rink so he has an opportunity to hang out with Maya and ask her out. His uncle also thinks he should pursue a relationship with Maya. Maya agrees to help Alex's uncle sell his Mexican bakery. And they started as enemies, butting heads about who should buy the bakery, not agreeing on who is the right fit for his uncle's bakery. There's a couple of town celebrations in this one. There's a Christmas Games fundraiser, which is very cool. There's also the procession and the following party, and that's where the charitable event comes in. The uncle volunteers to host the town event La Posadas at the bakery. In the end, They both get back with their childhood sweetheart. They realize they've been crushing on each other and decide to make a go of it. Alex ends up leaving his firm in New York to run the bakery.
Excellent storyline. I want to name my next pet Dasher, just like her parents' dog, although I already have two dogs, so I'm not sure my husband will let me have any more. Alex felt like he had to pursue being a lawyer instead of following his heart, which is really sad, all because of being an immigrant and feeling like since his uncle worked so hard to provide for him so that he could become a lawyer, that he had to pursue something that really wasn't his heart's content. Although his uncle did notice every time he was cooking, he was smiling and happy.
Yeah, I think it was really important to his uncle that Alex be seen as an equal in the legal world because of his immigrant background. It's tough to live up to others' expectations. And I think Alex really felt that, especially when it wasn't necessarily his heart's desire. He just really wanted to make his uncle and his aunt proud because they had sacrificed so much for him that he wanted to do what he thought was best for them to make them proud.
And it sounds like he was being successful, just he wasn't being personally fulfilled, which is unfortunate.
Totally. Well, there's, some misunderstandings definitely in this movie, just between Alex and his uncle about what he should do with his life. And of course, some misunderstandings between Maya and Alex about why they didn't end up together, since Maya, she admitted that she'd always had a crush on him and he admitted he had a crush on her, but it didn't seem like it, they had connected together. So what happened was she wrote a letter to him detailing how much she cared for him and wanted to get together. But he didn't end up reading it until she'd already been gone to Paris for months. And then their lives end up going into different directions. So he didn't end up saying anything to her. So she thought, he didn't really like me. And so they never pursued that. So another misunderstanding that would have maybe made a bigger difference in what choices the two main characters would have made.
I did find it interesting that part of that reasoning was because the office space was in such chaos. And I am a person who really likes cleanliness and order. And that chaos caused him to not be able to find his jacket that had the letter in it. So it was funny that they had referred to the mess in that office a couple times throughout the movie. That was quite cute.
It lent some credence to the fact that that's why he didn't find the letter, not just like he never checks his coat pockets. It's because
that
it was stuck
in
a messy office, which we saw later was a very true thing.
Right. I did like that they went to do the ice skating with the friends trying to get them together. That was something I always loved as a kid. I can remember our dad making the rink in our backyard down on Barnaby. And it was just a little square, but I would skate on there for hours. He even put a light outside so that I could skate at nighttime. I really, really, really love that. And that is a very fond memory for me. So many movies for Hallmark have the ice skating, but this one was really quite sweet.
I was too little at that time and was a very poor skater. So I do remember thinking it was pretty cool that we had our own private skating rink. It wasn't huge, but it was ours. And it was pretty neat that he would do that every year for us. That's true. I really liked that. I also liked in this movie the gingerbread obstacle course, which was really cool. First of all, they had to get this gingerbread and then to make it the little gingerbread house, I should say. Then they had to carry it with one hand while they did all of these different obstacles going up on those blow up slides. And I don't know what you call them. Yeah, I don't know what those are, but I would have dropped the house before I even got to the first obstacle because I'm very klutzy, but somehow almost all of them managed to get all the way through the thing until they bump into each other and knock the houses over through most of the course, holding this gingerbread house in their one hand while they do all these obstacles. That was really cool. I've never seen anything like that before.
That was really cool. I can totally relate to what Maya said about sweatpants and jacket for video meetings is pretty sweet because that's been our lives with COVID for almost 2 years now.
She has a really smart conversation about work-life balance in the bakery. So that was really interesting. And it ends up being the reason why she didn't take the job in Denver, because she would have to work 24/7 and have no actual work-life balance. And she ends up doing what I think most of us are doing now, is setting up a place to live with a place to work as well in one location.
It was very touching right at the beginning to find out that this young man had lost his parents. I can't even imagine having such a traumatic event at such a young age. And that would be the only home he really knew. All his positive memories were wrapped up in this restaurant. So I could totally understand why it was really hard for him to let go, and that he was doing pretty much anything he could to try to intervene with the sale. And then, of course, the person who is going to be the purchaser turns out to be the handsome other guy that is his competition. But
he was sweet. I know he's sort of pinned as the bad guy in a way in the show, but he actually was very sweet. So I like that in the end, they kind of really played that out, that he wasn't like this bad guy. They actually made it look, he was a decent guy. So let's talk about these magical gingerbread cookies. One of the lines that they say, because of course people are wishing on these cookies for their heart's desire, and they're saying, well, do you believe the wishes are real? And one of the lines, I believe Alex says, is that wishing is just a way to figure out what your heart wants. And so all these people wishing on the cookies are really just figuring out what they really want in their life. And whether the cookie is magic or not magic, it's a way to figure out, what do you really want in your life?
now let's talk about this party that the bakery held at the end.
Yes, the processional, or Las Posadas, which is a Mexican Christmas tradition. It was an excellent cultural event that I'd never seen before. I really enjoyed it. It had carols being sung in Spanish. And according to Slate.com, many Mexicans spend up to 9 days before Christmas celebrating Las Posadas, which translates to the inns or shelter. And it's usually a procession that's, in this case, that goes through the town. And it's led by an angel, Mary and Joseph, and is followed by adults and musicians singing the carols in Spanish, which was really special. I'd never seen it before, and I really enjoyed that part.
So should we move on to movie number 2?
Let's do it. Movie number 2, The Christmas Promise, starring Tori DeVito as Nicole, Dylan Bruce as Joe, and Patrick Duffy as Pops. A year after her fiance dies in a tragic accident, Nicole plans to walk away from everything they were supposed to have together, including their popular toy store and the beautiful house that they were renovating. With guidance from her grandfather and a friendly carpenter named Joe, she learns that talking about her grief, even with a stranger, may help find her peace.
Now let's find out how this movie rates on our sofa rating system. It has a 14 out of 20 sofas, and they are set up by family member or friend. Star gives up current career. There are multiple love stories. Takes place in a small town. Object focused. Something magical happens. Transportation breaks down. Helps a family member or friend in need. Includes town celebrations and the bonus for charity or charitable events. Okay, so let's break down each of these ratings. It takes place in the small town of Edgemont Village. Nicole's fiance, Henry, has a fatal car accident, though not explicitly discussed, but it did happen at Christmas. The house she and her late fiance bought, she needs to fix it up in order for her to sell it. The person who has Henry's number also went through a loss. This is the magical piece. Their brother had died, and they and Nicole communicate through text. Her friend thinks it's a sign from Henry to help her grieve and move on with her life, but later she discovers it's Joe. Nicole takes care of her grandfather, Pops. Joe decorates her house for her. In this small neighborhood, annual Christmas party at her friend Susan's house, and they decorate houses in Victorian Christmas style, and there's a town tree lighting. The charitable event is toys that were being given to the Children's Hospital. The multiple love stories was Nicole and Joe, and then Pops and the neighbor lady. Her friend Susan tries to set her up on blind dates, and her two friends also try to convince her to see Joe as more than a friend. Nicole plans to sell the toy store and sell her hand knit sweaters online instead. So that's a new career move.
Right from the beginning, there was this adorable moment with a little girl named Charlotte and a teddy bear. That was super cute. She really wanted it from Santa. Nicole helps convince her that she can get that from Santa.
But then the movie goes quickly into her losing the love of her life at Christmas time. And then she's not even able to enter the home they purchased together and wants to sell everything. I don't even want to think of ever losing my husband. I can't imagine how that must feel. You could tell every time she went there, she was that frozen shock, that PTSD.
Absolutely. It's heartbreaking right from the beginning. And of course, right at Christmas time, which they have a toy store. So you know it's going to be busy at Christmas time. And it was his dream to have the toy store, not so much hers, but she, of course, comes to love it. And then at the same time, it's hard for her to be there and do that work and to see the house, like you said, and she can't even enter the house. She's just not even interested after he passes away.
Right. Now, you being a cat lover that you are, I'm sure you love Jack Frost.
Yes, I thought Jack Frost, that's her kitty who she takes to the store with her all the time, who's so cute. Actually, there's a couple of pets in this movie that were really adorable. Jack Frost, the cat, and Walter, the dog, who ends up stealing Christmas lights from her neighbor's house, which is really sweet. There was also in this movie something really cool. So it was a little bit sad, but we love it. Is that old timey red truck that we know is so quintessential Hallmark that her fiance had. They don't mention it, but we suspect that was what he was driving when the accident happened, because when she sees Joe, the contractor, also has like a newer red truck. You can see it sparks an emotion for her, like, oh no, another red truck.
Red truck,
So
yeah.
you could tell
Absolutely.
that was a moment that was kind of scary for her.
I do like the saying that Joe's father said, that someday isn't a day of the week. And that really resonated with me to remind me not to procrastinate, because we always say, oh, I'll take care of that someday. But someday needs to be today.
Yeah, Pops was a real help to her. Pops is her nickname for her grandfather in the movie. And she finds out that he wrote letters to his late wife for a full year after she had passed, which is like super heartbreaking and also super sweet, but that helped him heal. So she decides to, of course, modernize this up a little bit. And she starts texting Henry's old phone number and then realizes someone is reading them, and not just reading them, but responding to them. And that's how that conversation about grief between them happens, about her fiance and he about his brother. But she doesn't know at this time who it is that's gotten the number, which is sort of a magical part, I think, of this movie. Like, how did Joe, the contractor, happen to get Henry's old phone number when he got a new phone? And even her friend says, well, you know, maybe it's Henry's way of watching out for you in this life, like from beyond.
Yeah, it was really cool. Sweet to think that you could reach out to someone, and what were the odds that that other person could relate to you, right? But I mean, I'm pretty sure getting a response and seeing your dead husband's name or fiance's name on the phone was a little alarming when the message returned.
Yeah, I mean, at least they start off with, hey, I just got a new phone, so this is why you're getting it from not the person that you're sending it to. So not like, hey, it's Henry from beyond and here's my message. But I feel like it is obviously a piece of Hallmark magic that was created for this movie.
And Joe was such a funny guy.
He was hilarious. When he dressed up like the genie, put the funky genie hat on, it was really cute. It kind of just broke down her defenses. And it was nice to hear that he's a bit of a softie, and he also easily cries at movies and commercials, which I do as well. But I think it was important for her to see that, you know, he could show his vulnerability.
The fact that he could make her smile changed her whole like aura as a person. That was she knew that being around him made her feel better. Totally. She didn't know why, but she knew it made her feel better.
There were a couple of quotes that I pulled from the movie that I just really thought were poignant and just something I could see me sticking on a wall for myself. And the first one is fight for your dreams because those dreams will light your darkest hours. And I thought that what an awesome thing to say. I've never thought
Mhm.
of it that way. I love that. And I also loved a joyful heart will also chase away any sorrow, which I totally agree with.
I actually haven't like really heard that joyful heart will also chase away any sorrow is actually that. I mean, it makes so much sense. It resonates, but
Mhm.
I hadn't really heard that before. I love that they use joy in so many different ways in the movie. He made it on the wood carving for
That's
the
right.
artwork. When she went looking for him, the lighted display of came up with the word joy. Like it came through several times, and it was all about her finding her joy again. And through this movie, she was able to come back to loving Christmas.
One of the things that she admitted to Joe that she'd always wanted to do, and he convinces her to do, was to decorate this tree that just is in like a field outside of their town. And I don't know who it belonged to, but it's just like a random tree. And she'd always thought, I'd love to decorate that tree. And so he says, well, just do it. Go decorate the tree. And I think it was one of the first small steps she took to starting to appreciate Christmas again in her life. And it's also just kind of a cool thing. I'm sure the person whose land that was said, hey, cool, thanks for the, decorated tree on our lawn. Actually, the town decorations were very cool. So they have a contest in the town about how to decorate, how people were decorating their front lawns in a Victorian Christmas style. And we're talking with like big pieces, big, I know, the
Very
Victorian
ornate.
people and like huge snowmen, and then they were walking around judging them rather harshly, but it was funny about which ones were good and which ones weren't. And I really enjoyed that. That was really cool. The whole, I mean, I don't know how big this town was supposed to be, but the whole town got in on that. And obviously it's right in front of their house. So everyone got to see and enjoy it, which is really cool.
It was really cool, and it was cute how they were both willing to play back and forth on the judging and what was the determining factor on the judging, because someone that you're that comfortable with, you can joke around like that. So that was really nice. That showed how they were progressing in their relationship.
For sure.
Her knitted sweaters that she made were so beautiful. And it reminded my husband and I of how his late mother would knit gorgeous sweaters to give out every year at Christmas. And people would be just anticipating and looking forward to receiving them. So that was really good to see again, once again, that a star went and followed their heart. And I think it was really wonderful how they tied it together and still honoring her ex-fiance by once Joe finished doing the house, all the renovations, she wanted to keep it. And B, she didn't let go of the toy store in the sense of letting anyone tear it down or put something else in there. She sold it to someone else who shared that vision and that heart for that business. So that was really nice because it was going
Yeah.
to still be the toy store.
And in the end, the little gift that she was given was a miniature of the house that she originally had purchased with her late fiance. She keeps and she's going to move in. And I think Joe is in the picture in that one.
I
And
think
as
so
she,
too.
and his present wasn't just this little house that was made. When she gets the little house, which is adorable, she goes to the big house and sees that he has completely decorated it for Christmas for her. And well, really for them, because now it's going to be a place that they'll be together. And they end off with a sweet kiss under mistletoe, which was very sweet. It was a very
It
sweet
was really
movie with a
sweet.
lot of heartfelt moments, and I really enjoyed watching it. I think this will be one of my favorite ones to watch year over year.
Movie number 3, Next Stop Christmas, starring Lindsay Fonseca as Angie, Chandler Massey as Ben, Leah Thompson as Angie's mom, and Christopher Lloyd as the train conductor. Instead of heading home to Yonkers, Angie finds herself on a magical time traveling train that takes her back to her hometown in Connecticut, 10 years earlier. The mysterious but friendly train conductor helps Angie figure out what she must do to get back to 2021, including who she must help and what big change she must make to return to the future.
Very cool. Okay, so let's find out how this movie rates on our SOPA rating system. And it earned an excellent score of 17 out of 20 sofas.
Ooh.
And they are Star Returns Home, set up by family members, and engagement. There is a farm in the story, multiple love stories, takes place in a small town, object focused, something magical happens, transportation breaks down, gets back with childhood sweetheart, helps a family member or friend in need, includes town celebrations, and the bonus for charity or charitable event. Now let's break down what the rating categories are. So, of course, we start off with this magical time traveling train and a ticket whose return portion has disappeared. So the magical train to Yonkers turns out to be a time traveling train where she falls asleep and then wakes up in 2011, where she's dating her previous boyfriend, Tyler, who was a sportscaster. Plus, there's a magical conductor played by Christopher Lloyd, who is just awesome in this movie. It was very cool to see. And she has to put things right before Christmas Eve to make the ticket that is only half appearing to appear in full so she can get back to 2021. When she falls asleep, she tends to end up back on the train, and he has another piece of advice for her to try to get her back to 2021. So she gets stuck in 2011 until she figures out what she needs to do in order to fix the return date on the ticket. Obviously, she's back with Tyler in her hometown of Shepherd's Ferry in Connecticut. The whole family, they do a lot of activities together, and they start off by going to a Christmas tree farm to pick the perfect Christmas tree. The multiple love stories in this movie are, of course, Angie and Tyler, but also Angie and Ben, and her parents. There was an engagement in this story. Tyler asked Angie to marry him again, meaning he asked her in 2011, and then now that she's in 2011, he asks her again. Only this time she accepts. But then she realizes they just really aren't right for each other and ends up breaking it off. In the end, Ben uses the frosty jewelry box that he had given her as a child to propose and give her the ring. And it was a really sweet moment. The charitable event in this movie, there was a charity soccer match in Barcelona that her fiance Tyler and she were supposed to go to, but then they break up. So she doesn't go, but he does. Set up by family members, Angie plays matchmaker for her parents who are struggling in their marriage since the girls have grown and moved out. Plus, Angie's sister gives her Ben's letter at the end after she breaks up with Tyler, and Angie realizes that she loves Ben. Angie asks Aunt Mert if she can recreate the night her parents met. Angie reminds Ben that he always wanted to be a family lawyer. This town has a couple of really cool celebrations. The tree lighting in front of the train station and Aunt Mert's big party. In the end, Angie gets together with Ben, her childhood friend and sweetheart. He gave her her first kiss.
It was really interesting in this movie to see Christopher Lloyd and Leah Thompson once again together in a time traveling movie, just like when they were in Back to the Future.
Yes, and the train, I loved how beautifully it was decorated for Christmas. Like not the original Yonkers train, but this magical Christmas train. It looks awesome. I've always wanted to go on a long train trip. My husband and I have always talked about maybe doing a long distance train ride like the Rocky Mountaineer, which is very cool trip here in Canada. But I think I could do this Christmas train somewhere. It was pretty. I think that would be pretty cool. Even if it was a short ride, I would definitely go on that train. Maybe not to 2011, but
somewhere
in 2021. But yes, go visit something in that train. That would be cool.
I know everyone always says, oh, if you could turn back time, as Cher would say, to see how things could turn out differently. But I honestly can't imagine going back in time to try to reunite with one of my old flames. And I'm pretty sure my husband wouldn't want me to do that either. But I'm sure there was a reason why those relationships didn't work out in the first place. And once again, in our story, she realized why that never worked in the first place.
Yes. So, well, to start with, Tyler doesn't like dogs. He says he's not the dog type. So I don't know. I don't mean judging against people don't like dogs, but she loves dogs. So like if you love dogs and the person you're with doesn't love dogs and you have a dog, that's probably a pretty big red flag that maybe you weren't supposed to be with that person.
However, in the future, she sees a picture where he's with his new love and they do have a dog.
So obviously it was just that it just wasn't right,
Wasn't
regardless of
his
the
time.
dog.
Yep.
He, you know what? You'll make that effort for the people that matter. And clearly, she wasn't it for him either. So, he
Right.
had a happy ending with someone else. Though I think when she first got off the train, so she had to like realize whether she wasn't dreaming or not. And then she sees him on the train. And then she walks up to him and gives him a kiss. So I was like, wait a second, why is she kissing him? But that was how she was figuring out whether she was dreaming or not. And I don't think I'd ever seen that other than pinching. Usually you get pinched to see if you were waking up. You don't go kiss someone because usually that's what you're doing in a dream anyway. So that was kind of a unique way to figure out whether you were awake or not. And it probably seemed like to Tyler, yeah, she was still into the engagement or into the relationship at that
Relationship, anyways. That's right.
Totally. Now, of course, she gets there. She knows that in the future, her parents are getting divorced. And that was tough for her sister and her. But when she's there, she's like, oh, it was so perfect. It was so perfect. And she's living under this misconception that everything was perfect back then, that it was the best Christmas ever. And that's all she can remember. But of course, as the movie goes on, we see there were issues happening and bubbling underneath the surface, of course, not just in her relationship with Tyler, but in her relationship with her sister and in her parents' relationship. And it ends up, it opens her eyes and she sees the truth of all of those issues going on in the background.
Exactly. So this is just proof of when people are self-absorbed, like she was with her own little world and what she wanted to do with her life, you miss what's really going on around you and with the people that you love. Like, how do you not know that you and your sister are not close and that you don't have a solid, loving relationship where you're sharing things? You don't know that when you don't miss not having it.
Yeah.
So
and I think the
it's
sister
very
kept
sad.
saying, like, you don't know what's going on in my life because we don't communicate. So, if you're not communicating with that person, it makes sense that you don't really know what's going on in their life and what has been happening in your family. If you're obviously she's busy, she was a doctor, and that's a busy lifestyle, and totally understand that. But at the same time, you have to have a personal life too. So you can't expect that your personal life is going to just run smoothly if you don't put any work in, which you realized
Exactly.
you got to put the work in to make sure those relationships are in good standing for sure.
Because it was really interesting that when she found out her sister was trying to adopt and was having all these issues, that it wasn't going well, but she thought, oh, but before we were so close, we would have been able to do this together. Meanwhile, they weren't any closer before than they were in 2011 or 2021 rather.
So as the movie progresses, of course, she's kind of in and out of the train trying to figure out what she needs to do next to try to get that ticket to come back in full. And we're meeting all the people that she had conversations, etc., with at the time. One being Aunt Mert's niece, Chloe, who is super annoying, who she ends up setting fakely up with Ben for the party just so that Tyler wasn't jealous. But he's still going to be jealous because it was obvious that she and Ben cared for each other. But there was a bunch of other things that happened. Particularly, she admits to Ben that she has come from the future. And I think she does a couple of things to try to convince him of that.
Exactly. Now you talk about Chloe being super annoying. My husband was so annoyed while Angie's trying to prove to Ben that she's from the future. She tells him about the time in February 2012 that the Patriots lost to the Giants. And this is a huge Patriots house over here. So the Super Bowl, February 2012, when the Giants won, sent my husband into a tizzy, remembering that terrible loss. So that for him was super annoying.
Yes, absolutely. Patriots fans were diehard, but it was really
That's
cute
right.
that she used a topical reference for him about something that
Right.
would make him upset for sure. Oh, by the way, in a couple months, this is about to happen. There was a really sweet moment with her mom looking at a picture of her mom and her dad when they first met, and it was at Aunt Mert's party all those many years ago. And her mom was wearing this beautiful red dress that Angie knows is in her closet. And she decides to ask Aunt Mert if they can recreate that night. Obviously that in 2011, not the original one, not going back in time again, but just to have that feeling. And that was really sweet. Her mother comes and she convinces her mother to wear the red dress, and her father's talking about how that was the party that they'd first met. And he said, and I would turn and look, and there she comes walking in again in that beautiful red dress. And it really rekindles the romance that night. And they played the piano together and they danced together. It was super, super sweet. I really liked that part of the movie.
It was really lovely to watch the parents reliving the day they met. Such a sweet thing for kids to put their parents together to do. Not that my daughter would ever think of that, but it's very sweet that others did. And it also once again shows that family always comes first. So that was really nice.
Yeah, it was a really important moment for them from their past. And even though they didn't have to go back in the past to relive it, it made such an important step in the future. So not even just in 2011, of course, in 2021, when she realizes she loves Ben, she gets her parents back together, she rekindles the friendship with her sister, and the ticket comes back the return side, and she gets to go back on the train, and she's a little sad about leaving Ben, but that's okay. They make a plan to meet up in the restaurant in 2021, which she almost misses doing, but of course he waits there because he's been waiting for her for years anyway. And that's when they get engaged, the ring in the frosty box, which is really super sweet. Movie number 4, The Christmas Treasure, starring Jordan Sparks as Lou and Michael Xavier as Kyle. In this movie, Lou has her heart set on moving to New York City to become a novelist. Her plans shift when she meets Kyle, a chef who is visiting his aunt for the Christmas holidays. With some help from her great-grandfather's journal and the town's 100-year-old time capsule, Lou rediscovers where her true inspiration lies.
Okay, let's find out how this movie rates on our sofa rating system. It received a 14 out of 20 sofas, and they are: Star returns home, set up by a family member, there's a farm in the story, Star gives up current career, it takes place in a small town, object focus, something magical happens, helps a family member or friend in need, includes town celebrations, and the bonus for charity or charitable event. Okay, let's break this down. The movie takes place in Lou's hometown of Pine Grove, and there's a Christmas tree farm where the couple, a different couple, wins the prize, and Lou is the reporter who's there reporting on the event. Kyle comes to Pine Grove to visit his Aunt Marcy for Christmas, and he's from Chicago. He decides to stay and cook with his aunt as a partner to the business. The Christmas time capsule from 1921. Inside are some items of special meaning, but that time capsule is the object that's focused within our movie today. Kyle helps his Aunt Marcy to win a cooking contest. Lou fills in for her sister-in-law singing at the time capsule event. The town celebrations are opening of the time capsule and the new submissions to the 2021 time capsule, the Taste of Christmas event, Gingerbread house contest, the Christmas show, the Christmas market, fire pits in the town square, party at the Webbs, and a sleigh ride. The Taste of Christmas contest was the charity event and the town toy drive. Lou wants to leave her job at the paper to go to New York to write a book, but realizes she can write from anywhere and wants to stay at Pine Grove, where all the people she loves are. The magical thing, the mysterious light from the lantern, aka the beacon, turns on.
It was a very mysterious moment when the light comes on. But some of the things I liked about this movie, for sure, the recipes that were in the time capsule were pretty cool. And I liked that that was what they used for the Taste of Christmas contest. And then they ended up winning using that recipe, which was very cool. I would have liked to tasted it. It was a delicious stew that looked, I think it was a caroling stew is what they called it. And it looked absolutely delicious.
And it was wonderful that he tried to incorporate that when he went to the big city at his interview, and they didn't really have any interest in the nostalgia of it because they were all about, the new world stuff. So it was very cool that he was able to make it, because remember, it took them many tries to get it
Mhm.
right, but he was able to figure it out and then decided to stay true to that. So that was really nice. We've never made a time capsule, but we thought many times about it. Although that only works if you bury it somewhere where you can go to get to it in the future. We did, however, write a letter to our daughter telling her of our dreams for her, of what that we wrote for her when she was a newborn. And we gave this letter to her at her wedding. So that was a really sweet thing that we were able to do, like that long-term memory. But it's not something that, we didn't hide it somewhere and a whole different generation found it, but it was still
I
something
think
cool
it's
to
this,
do.
yeah, it's the same spirit of it that you did that. It was a personal time capsule. I think a lot of people would think that was a pretty special thing to do. How old was she when she got married? She's in her 20s. So that's a distance of time away from when you
Yep.
wrote it to when she got to read it. So it's a very similar idea for sure. A couple of things about this movie. It had two things I love. It had music and it had writing. So Lou's a frustrated budding novelist who's struggling to write with her other responsibilities, which is something I personally know about. It's a huge task to write a novel, and it's hard to focus your time doing that while you still have to keep your day job. And of course, for her, she has the other town and family commitments. But I think what every writer eventually learns that writing is about sitting your butt in the chair and doing the work instead of waiting for inspiration to come, which she does learn that that's exactly what you have to do. She does get inspired, but I think she realizes that you can get inspired anywhere. So she ends up getting inspired where she is, and she ends up staying where she is. For me, I loved writing right from when I was very young. I
Mhm.
wrote a children's story just like her. So it was a very parallel moment for me when she's talking about the children's story that she wrote that inspired her to continue writing. I had a similar experience. I wrote a children's story in school, and I actually got an A plus 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 on it, which I've not gotten since or before. As I did on that story, but it really did give me the writing bug as well. And so I really connected with her about when you're young, those early life experiences you have, how they can speak to your future, like
Right.
what you want to do with your
They
life in the
mold
future.
who you are going to be. Yeah.
That's right. That was an inspiration unto itself. When she remembered that story, that became the inspiration eventually of what she did in this movie. And I think that was really cool because I, of course, connected with that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, our whole family is very proud of your writing credits that you have already at your young age, but also that you sang. So, like you said, this has two things that are really dear to you. And I
Yeah.
also can relate to how you're saying, like, if you have something such as our podcast that we do here, that is, one of our personal passions, but we still have to meet our day-to-day job commitments and family commitments and try to fit this in. And so I do find that if you really and truly are passionate about something, you will find that time and that place to make that happen and sit your butt down, as you said, and do it.
One of the things in this movie that was really sweet was the relationship between Lou and her dad. Her dad is the editor of the paper. Her great grandfather was also editor of the paper. So it's a family business for her. So leaving it to go write a novel in another city was kind of a big deal. But when she gets that ancestors journal from the time capsule, she is inspired to write a piece about her great grandfather and his decision not to leave Pine Grove. And that ends up paralleling her life at the moment. In the end, they give her a journal very similar, which was a super thoughtful gift to give her. And now she gets to write her own story of her life in Pine Grove.
I have a grandson and I have a granddaughter on the way, which was wonderful. And it was great to see a baby be born, the first one for the Christmas Eve. Anytime new life comes into a movie is so sweet.
It was very sweet. And they included the picture of that new member of the Webb family in the time capsule. And that's that, call back to her grandfather's journal or great grandfather's journal was in there. And now the picture kind of brings that family piece of it for the Webb family forward to the next 100 years when they open it up and they will see that picture of the little baby who maybe will be around in 100 years. You never know.
You never know. Once again, it lets us know the home is where the heart is and the family is the most important thing.
Absolutely. I think all the 4 movies we watched this weekend all have a very similar theme in that way, how important family is, how important the Christmas spirit is. And it just continues to inspire me to not only watch them, but to decorate and to get excited about the events that we're going to do for our family this Christmas.
Exactly. This episode was brought to you by Hamish Community Services, opening doors by taking the dis out of disabilities. You can find out more information at hamish.ca.
Well, fellow Crown Heads, we've come to the end of today's chat.
You can find all our episodes on your favorite podcast network
and on our website, sistersipandchat.ca. Subscribe and never miss a chat session.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time.
And we'll save you a seat on the sofa.